Wrong thing. Take a seat next to him. Take a seat next.
Kodak Black's story is one of the most complicated and tragic rises in modern hip-hop.
Look at this. This poverty for real. This ain't no fake. Did you ever in your life think you could be this?
He went from escaping real poverty and building a rap empire to slowly watching everything around him begin to collapse. Gun charges, sexual assault allegations, public meltdowns, legal battles, and a growing struggle with drugs all started stacking up around him. What once looked like the story of a generational superstar slowly turned into a cautionary tale.
Is it cool if I test one of them?
At one point, it seemed like Kodak had everything going his way. The talent was undeniable, the streets respected him, and the industry was starting to open its doors. But somewhere along the line, things began to spiral. The pressure, the fame, the legal troubles, they all started crashing down at once. So how does someone rise that high and still lose their way like this? Let's break it down. Before everything went downhill, Kodak Black was already becoming one of the most exciting new voices in rap. By 2014, his breakout song No Flockin' had already gone double platinum and was spreading through the streets and the internet like wildfire. The following year, his track Skirt was showing up in playlists across the country. The momentum was building fast.
Like testing a nigga gangster.
Oh, testing my drink?
Yeah, that's like testing my manhood.
Then came the cosign every young rapper dreams about. Drake publicly showed love to Kodak's music, a moment that instantly pushed his name into the mainstream spotlight. For a kid from the public housing projects of Pompano Beach, Florida, raised by a single mother with very little, that moment felt like destiny knocking at the door. Soon after, Atlantic Records stepped in with a serious deal. This wasn't just a regular rap success story anymore. It looked like the beginning of something generational. The talent was there, the industry backing was there, and the ceiling for Kodak Black seemed almost limitless. But before the ink on the Atlantic contract had even fully dried, trouble arrived. In October 2015, Kodak Black was already in handcuffs. At just 18 years old, he was facing charges that included robbery, battery, kidnapping, false imprisonment, driving with a suspended license, and marijuana possession. The charges came from an incident where he allegedly forced people into his car after suspecting them of breaking into his home. In the same week he was receiving cosigns from rap royalty, he was also building a criminal record that read like something out of a crime novel. Just 2 months later, in December 2015, another marijuana possession charge appeared in St. Lucie County. Suddenly the buzz around Drake's endorsement was sharing headlines with police reports. Promoters began to get nervous. The Next Big Thing label was starting to compete with another reputation, the troubled young rapper constantly dealing with the law. And once those two narratives start competing, the industry rarely chooses the risky option. What made the situation even worse was the timing. Kodak had been given a very small window, the same kind of window many artists from difficult backgrounds only get once. Early 2016 should have been about capitalizing on that moment, touring the country, building a bigger catalog, locking in collaborations with bigger artists. Instead, Kodak was dealing with a house arrest sentence tied to 5 years of probation, along with mandatory community service and anger management classes. Every condition in that probation agreement became a chain holding his career back. Labels started questioning the risk of investing more money. Promoters began inserting cancellation clauses into booking contracts. The music industry moves fast, and it rarely waits for someone to fix their personal life. Then came the accusation that would follow Kodak for years. In February 2016, a woman accused him of first-degree criminal sexual conduct after a performance in South Carolina. The case was formally indicted in 2017 and carried the possibility of a 30-year prison sentence. The allegation immediately damaged his brand. In every room where serious money was being discussed, that accusation changed the conversation. Brand deals disappeared overnight. Mainstream crossover opportunities closed. The rising star narrative was now permanently linked with a rape accusation. And those two headlines do not coexist easily in the corporate world. In 2021, Kodak eventually resolved the case by pleading to a lesser charge of first-degree assault and battery, receiving 18 months of probation and avoiding additional jail time. but 5 years of a pending sexual assault case leaves scars on a public reputation that never fully disappear. Meanwhile, the legal problems kept piling up. Between 2017 and 2018, probation violations started stacking up one after another. In May 2017, he was sentenced to 364 days in jail for violating house arrest terms, serving around 97 days before being released. Then in January 2018, police raided his home and found a stolen firearm, ammunition, and marijuana. An Instagram Live video had already shown a child in the house near the contraband, which led to an additional child neglect charge. Another 364-day sentence followed, with roughly 7 months served, before he was released again in August 2018. And somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, Kodak's music kept succeeding. His album, Dying to Live, debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts that same year. It was as if the talent was desperately trying to save the career, while everything surrounding it was slowly destroying it. Around this time, Kodak's interviews also began to show a different side of him, more unpredictable, more unfiltered, and sometimes completely chaotic. Those moments became viral clips across the internet. Every interview, every live stream, every camera pointed at him had the potential to produce another controversial moment. For label executives and major brands, that unpredictability became a massive liability. Then things escalated even further. In 2019, the situation went federal. Federal agents arrested Kodak Black at Rolling Loud, Miami, accusing him of lying on firearm purchase forms about his criminal history. He pleaded guilty later that year and was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison, serving time at the high-security facility in Big Sandy, Kentucky. While incarcerated, he even filed a lawsuit against prison staff alleging abuse, though he later dropped the case. Meanwhile, the hip-hop streaming era was exploding outside those prison walls. New artists were building catalogs, signing deals, and claiming positions in the culture that Kodak had once been perfectly positioned to dominate. Then, in January 2021, something unexpected happened. Former U.S. President Donald Trump commuted Kodak Black's sentence, citing his charitable work in community support. After serving roughly 10 to 12 months of his federal sentence, Kodak walked free. And for a moment, it looked like he might finally turn everything around. His comeback single, Super Gremlin, exploded, reaching #3 on the Billboard Hot 100, while his album, Back for Everything, debuted at #2 on the charts. For the entire industry, it was proof that Kodak Black still had the talent to dominate, if he could stay out of his own way. But history has shown that freedom for Kodak Black has often come with a short expiration date. And the story was far from over, because the legal battles and industry struggles were only one side of his downfall. The other side came from the streets, and that side would eventually tie his name to violence, lawsuits, and even a tragic murder investigation that shocked Florida. Throughout the mid-2010s, Kodak Black's drug references were mostly treated as part of the image he was building. Lean, pills, and street habits were woven into his music, the same way other artists talked about champagne, luxury cars, or private jets. To the outside world, it read as style. It was part of the persona. Most people in the industry weren't alarmed, and even those closest to him didn't treat it as a serious clinical problem. But everything changed once Kodak came home from federal prison in 2021. The substance use stopped being background texture in his lyrics and started showing up as documented evidence inside courtrooms. From there, it spilled into viral clips that millions of fans were watching unfold in real time. Each moment became harder and harder to defend, and even harder to explain away. The first major crisis came in September 2021. Kodak was on supervised release after his federal firearms conviction when he failed a mandatory drug test. The results came back positive for marijuana in MDMA, violating the conditions of his release. A judge responded by ordering 90 days of inpatient rehabilitation. Kodak completed the full program by December 2021. His attorney confirmed the court was satisfied with his progress, and Kodak publicly described himself as clean and sober, promising fans he was ready to refocus on music. And for a moment, it looked like the recovery had worked. His comeback single, Super Gremlin, exploded across the charts, eventually cracking the top 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It felt like proof that the discipline from rehab had taken hold. But that stability didn't last long. Only a few months later, everything began unraveling again. After being shot in the leg during a Super Bowl after-party in February 2022, Kodak received a legitimate oxycodone prescription for pain management. What started as medical treatment quickly became another serious problem. By July 2022, police pulled Kodak over and discovered 31 oxycodone pills and a large amount of cash inside his car. Trafficking and possession charges followed immediately. Kodak argued that the pills were part of a valid prescription, but the court still placed him on house arrest with mandatory drug testing while the case moved forward. Then, things escalated even further. In February 2023, Kodak missed a required drug test entirely. When he finally submitted to one, the results came back positive for fentanyl, not just prescription opioids, but the synthetic drug responsible for the majority of overdose deaths in the United States. A Broward County judge issued an arrest warrant and ordered him into 30 days of inpatient rehabilitation. But even that moment came with a strange twist. Before entering treatment, the judge allowed Kodak to perform at Rolling Loud, California, one of the biggest hip-hop festivals in the world. It meant a man with fentanyl in his system was given permission to perform for thousands of fans before checking into rehab. That decision raised a bigger question about how the entertainment industry sometimes bends rules around celebrity behavior. Then in December 2023, Kodak was arrested again. Police found him asleep inside a vehicle, leading to charges of cocaine possession and evidence tampering. Kodak denied the cocaine allegation during an Instagram live broadcast, claiming it was actually lean and linking the entire situation back to the opioid prescriptions he received after being shot. But during that live stream, he also revealed something that cut through the defensiveness. Kodak admitted he had voluntarily spent $350,000 on private rehab treatment, separate from anything the courts had ordered. He said the decision was about becoming a better father for his children. That moment felt genuine. It didn't sound like damage control. It sounded like someone who understood how far things had spiraled. In 2024, Kodak gave the most honest public description of his addiction yet. He admitted that during the worst period of his Percocet dependency, he had been taking as many as 100 pills a day, with an average closer to 40 daily. He told fans directly that surviving that period was pure luck. The counterfeit Percocet market had already been flooded with fentanyl-laced pills. At the quantities he was taking, one bad batch could have ended his life. For a while, it seemed like he was making real progress. During parts of 2024, Kodak said he was sober for the most part, explaining that he could now go several days without substances and was no longer afraid of what life felt like without drugs. For someone who had admitted to consuming dozens of pills daily, that was a real step forward. But the cycle kept repeating. In November 2024, Kodak appeared on Kai Cenat's massive Twitch marathon stream. Almost immediately, clips went viral showing him appearing to take a Percocet live on camera. Fans in the chat reacted with instant concern. Instead of calming those fears, Kodak responded defensively. Shortly afterward, he went live on Instagram and took another pill on camera, telling viewers they were overreacting and should mind their business. Within the span of 1 year, Kodak had gone from publicly talking about spending $350,000 on rehab to openly using drugs on livestream. Then came another moment that deeply worried fans. In September 2025, Kodak appeared on Instagram Live driving on Interstate 95 while sipping lean straight from the bottle. He looked visibly unfocused while navigating traffic, with thousands of viewers watching the livestream unfold. Moments like that quickly spread across social media, often shared by fans with nothing more than a prayer emoji in the caption. The performances weren't helping the narrative either. Concert footage from late 2024 through early 2026 began circulating online, showing security guards physically holding Kodak upright on stage, seemingly preventing him from losing his balance. Reports also surfaced about him arriving 9 hours late to scheduled events and appearing disoriented mid-performance. Even other artists started speaking out. Rapper Boosie Badass, who is rarely known for holding back criticism, publicly expressed concern about Kodak's health after seeing some of the stage footage. But the controversy surrounding Kodak didn't stop with drugs. For years, impulsive live streams had also created a long trail of public backlash. In 2017, he faced widespread criticism after stating on Instagram Live that he did not prefer black women, comments widely condemned as colorist.
In 2018, he abruptly walked out of a Hot 97 interview with Ebro Darden when the host asked about the pending South Carolina sexual assault case. And in April 2019, only days after Nipsey Hussle was murdered, Kodak went live on Instagram and said he planned to pursue Nipsey's partner, Lauren London, romantically once she finished grieving. The internet erupted immediately. Radio stations boycotted his music. Although Kodak later apologized, the damage had already spread across every platform. Then came perhaps the most explosive controversy yet. In December 2025, during another Instagram Live session with prescription bottles visible in the frame, Kodak delivered a rambling monologue where he said he was not mad at slavery, blamed Africans for the transatlantic slave trade, and questioned why enslaved people hadn't resisted more aggressively. Historians, activists, community leaders, and fans immediately condemned the comments. The clip went viral across every platform. And once again, the same cycle played out. An impulsive live stream, an inflammatory statement, viral outrage, and a short apology or silence afterward. Each time that cycle repeated, the mainstream industry's patience grew shorter. Yet despite everything, the arrests, the addiction, the controversies, Kodak's attempts at recovery have been real. He completed 2 court-ordered inpatient rehab programs, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on treatment, and has repeatedly warned younger fans not to follow the same path. The effort has been genuine, but so have the relapses. And that cycle has become the defining struggle of Kodak Black's career. For a while, Kodak Black sounded like a man who was finally beginning to win the fight. In interviews and live appearances, he told audiences that he was sober for the most part. He said that going several days without substances no longer felt like climbing a mountain. The fear of being clean, something he had once openly admitted to struggling with, was slowly starting to lose its grip on him. And for a moment, the progress seemed real. Fans could see the difference. His tone was calmer, his message sounded more reflective. It looked like the man who had spent $350,000 of his own money on rehabilitation was finally starting to see the results of that effort. Then November 2024 arrived. During a live stream, in response to fans questioning his lifestyle choices, Kodak suddenly said something that erased months of hope in a single sentence. "I'm never sober." It wasn't said as a confession or a cry for help. It came out as a defensive response, almost combative in tone, aimed at people who were asking questions about his health. For the fans who had been rooting for his recovery, that moment was difficult to process. The gap between the man who had voluntarily spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get clean for his children and the man now declaring he would never be sober felt impossible to explain. As of early 2026, no new court-ordered rehabilitation program has been publicly confirmed. Some of Kodak's older drug cases have been dismissed through the courts, and the $10 million Super Bowl lawsuit that once hung over his head has also disappeared. But the larger pattern has not disappeared. The cycle, recovery announcements followed by public relapses, continues without any clear ending point. And behind that cycle are 5 children who had no choice in any of it. That part of the story rarely gets as much attention, but it may be the most important piece of all.
Kodak Black is the father of 5 children with 4 different women, 3 sons and 2 daughters. His youngest child, Prince Vulture Octave Capri, was born on January 1, 2025. balancing fatherhood across 4 separate relationships while dealing with federal probation, ongoing legal monitoring, addiction recovery, and constant public controversy isn't just complicated, it creates a constant family crisis unfolding quietly behind the headlines. One of the most public disputes came in 2025, involving his ex-girlfriend, Miranda Johnson, the mother of his youngest son and daughter. In August 2025, court documents and police reports became public, showing that Johnson had accused Kodak of repeatedly abusing her during their relationship. One allegation claimed he struck her while she was 7 months pregnant, and she said one incident left her with a dislocated jaw. Johnson brought the accusations directly to Instagram Live, explaining that she had previously stayed silent about the situation because she wanted to protect Kodak's public image. She also filed for $56,000 per month in child support, along with legal fees. The story spread across the internet almost instantly. Kodak's legal team responded by filing for full custody, presenting their own claims about Johnson's behavior. According to their filings, she had allegedly smashed the windshields of his luxury vehicles with a brick and had been involved in a January 2025 nightclub altercation with other mothers of his children. The situation reached another dramatic moment when Johnson was arrested at the Broward County Courthouse during an August 2025 custody hearing, facing charges related to the vehicle vandalism. Her attorney later described the arrest as an intimidation tactic connected to the custody dispute. Despite the explosive accusations, no criminal domestic violence charges were ever filed against Kodak Black. By September 2025, the entire matter was resolved privately. A confidential settlement established a parenting plan, and several lawsuits were dismissed. But parenting plans only regulate schedules and financial obligations. They cannot erase the public chaos that children eventually grow up seeing. Kodak's kids are growing up watching a father who clearly loves them, a man willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get sober for their future, while also seeing that same father appear in viral videos using substances publicly. That contradiction is the heart of Kodak Black's story. The talent has always been undeniable. The intention to change has appeared many times, through completed rehab programs, large financial commitments to recovery, and moments of honesty that required real vulnerability. But the cycle has been relentless. Arrest, release, comeback, relapse, viral controversy, court appearance, repeat. At this point, that cycle has lasted longer than many hip-hop careers last from beginning to end. And yet, the story is still unfolding. As of March 2026, Kodak Black is still performing, he is still releasing music, he is still posting online, and he is still generating headlines that often have nothing to do with the music itself. The truth is, this story isn't finished yet. But anyone who has followed it honestly also knows something else. No one can say for sure how it will end. Thanks for watching, fam. And if you want to see more stories like this, make sure to click the video on the screen now.